Now we're going to talk about C and S corporations. I don't want to spend a ton of time. I mean, I think it's pretty fascinating what a C and an S corporation is, but it's not extremely applicable to online booksellers. I feel if you're doing more than just selling books, like if you ran an organization like an information company, or I don't know, like you're doing something more than just selling books on Amazon, I think maybe it'd be a good idea to form an S or a C corp. But if you're just if your focus is on, I'm going to buy books, I'm going to send them in Amazon FBA, I'm going to sell them, I'm going to take that profit, I'm going to use it to some of it to reinvest into more books, some of it I'm going to keep myself. I mean, that's pretty simplistic, and it may suit you well to stay in the sole proprietor and LLC area. C corporations are an independent legal entity owned by shareholders, and compared to the other options, they have more costly administration fees. There's a pretty complex tax and legal requirements that the government sets forth that need to be had. So typically, if you have a C corporation, you're going to need to have some staff, some people on hand to be able to meet these regulations that the government puts in place. Now, the advantages of a corporation is just like an LLC, there's limited liability. So shareholders' personal assets are protected. So if the corporation goes under, shareholders, their personal money, their personal property is protected from any of that liability. Corporations have the ability to generate capital. They have the ability to raise funds through the sale of stock. So if you're thinking, I'd like to have some stock in my company so people can buy stock and then invest and kind of become partners and we can grow, we can raise money this way, a corporation is the structure you're going to want to go to. So also the corporations get a different tax treatment. They file separate taxes from their owners. So the owners will get some money, and then they'll obviously have to do income tax, personal income tax. Whatever money's left over will be taxed at a lower rate. So unlike with the LLC, all the money that's made in a year is directed to individuals who have to pay the standard income tax rates. With a corporation, after all the money has been dispersed, whatever's left over does get taxed, but it's at a much smaller rate. And also one of the advantages is that having a corporation is just more attractive to potential employees. Typically, if you're able to be a corporation, you are of the size to be able to offer some good benefits and 401k and retirement stuff, and that could be really helpful if you're looking to hire some people that to help run your organization. They're going to feel more comfortable, more secure working for a corporation than they would for a sole proprietorship or an LLC. Now, disadvantages of a corporation is time and money. I mean, corporations are costly ventures to start and to operate, so you need to have a lot of time and money on hand. And again, if your company gets to the size where that time and money, maybe you're probably already spending that amount of time and money on operating your sole prop or your LLC, switching over to the corporation might be advantageous to you and your business. Double taxing is another disadvantage. In some cases, corporations are taxed twice. So they're taxed first when the company makes a profit, and again when dividends are paid to shareholders. Again, if this is something that you're thinking about doing, definitely worth looking into. Again, for the average online seller, it's not going to be a big deal. There's a lot of additional paperwork. I mean, for businesses to be set up like this, the government has all these regulations that you need to comply with and paperwork that needs to be filled out. So you're going to need to have people on staff to handle that. So the conclusion, I think it's obviously a viable business model, a structure. Tons of companies operate as corporations, but I think not a good idea for new or low-level online sellers. I think that a C corporation would not be the best business structure for you. That's my opinion. Now we'll talk about S corporations really quick. So similar to the C corporation, S corporations are very similar, except you're only taxed on the personal level. So this is a business structure that helps businesses avoid double taxation. But the idea is you have to first be a C corp, and then you need to fulfill the requirements necessary to be approved by the IRS to become an S corp. So how is an S corp different? Well, so the P&Ls are passed through to your personal tax returns, the profits and losses. So the business is not taxed at all. It's just the shareholders. It's just the people that are making money. But one of the caveats is that any shareholder that works for the company must make a reasonable wage. So because the company's not taxed, and because you have the freedom and flexibility as an organization to disperse your money as you see fit, the government wants to make sure that you're not inflating the wages of some people, the distributions of some people over others. So this is definitely a more heavier regulated business structure than some of the other ones. Advantages are the tax saving features, as I alluded to before. So while members of an LLC are subject to employment tax on the entire net income of the business, only the wages of an SCorp shareholder, who is an employee, are subject to employment tax. So obviously the shareholders that are making money, they'll have to file the money that they're making from your business on their personal tax return. Employees that are working for the organization, working for the SCorp, will have an employment tax, but everything else doesn't have to. You don't have to pay those taxes on all the other earnings from the business. And you can see some of the other benefits here. One of the other benefits is that there's independent life. There's absolute clear lines between the shareholder and the company. There's no blurring of the two, which is really helpful. Disadvantage is stricter operational processes. I mean, there's all these things you have to do to be a qualified SCorp. And then there are also some shareholder compensation requirements. So if you have a low salary, high distribution combination, you're going to put up all sorts of red flags. If the IRS audits you, there's going to be fees and penalties for that. So you really got to make sure that you're okay setting up your business the way the IRS says you need to set it up to be eligible to be an SCorp. So again, just like the CCorp, I'd say that for 99.9% of online sellers, they probably should be interested in either S or CCorp. But I just want to throw those out there as two legitimate options. So depending on where the course of your business takes you, down the road you may be interested in one or the other. So just to wrap things up, I just want to say I'm not a tax professional. I'm not a lawyer. I'm not a CPA. I'm just offering you my opinion on things. Do the research, fill your head full of knowledge, and then go talk to one of these people. Go talk to a tax professional. Go talk to a lawyer who specializes in forming businesses. Talk to a CPA, and then you can ask them the questions, and then they're going to give you solid professional advice that you can apply to your business. It's definitely worth the investment to spend some time talking to these people to make sure the structure that you have in place for your business is adequate, is the right one. But my recommendation for you is to start as a sole proprietorship and build from there if necessary. So start as a sole proprietorship, and then as your business grows, if you want to get into an LLC, you can. If you want to jump all the way to a C Corp and then an S Corp, you can. But start small. Don't let the idea of all the sole proprietor versus LLC versus S and C Corp stifle your business. Again, like with everything else, with every other hurdle that there is for the entrepreneur, don't let this one be the one that stops you from realizing your why, from building a profitable online selling company. Don't let this get in the way. Don't let this be that speed bump. So all in all, thank you for watching so much. I know that there's probably a lot of questions left unanswered. The internet is an incredible resource for you. Just type in some key phrases that you're interested in on Google and do some searches. Make sure you weed through the information to find credible sources, but a lot of information out there for you. Thank you so much for watching, and we're going to catch you on the next video.